Dear students, welcome to this session on literary criticism. Today, we will focus on Longinus and his contributions. Longinus is a 1st century critical thinker, an important member of the classical triumvirate of criticism besides Aristotle and Horace. It is believed that the treatise Perihypsos was written by a Greek called Longinus. The date of composition is uncertain. This title was translated variously by different people, and the most popular translation is On the Sublime. This is one of the most influential pieces of criticism on language and literature. Let us take the term sublime. What do you mean by sublime? In Malayalam, sublime means udattam, utkrishtam. One of the most important and often discussed concepts in philosophy. The term sublime signifies loftiness, height, grandeur, ecstasy, and many more things. Longinus defines sublimity as the excellence in language that carries the readers to ecstasy. After reading a sublime literary work, the readers are expected to be transported to a higher realm. They feel extreme happiness. So, a sublime literary work is something noble, something which is above the common level, something which is beyond the normal, something which is great in every sense, something which has the capacity to elevate the reader from his base realm to a higher realm. This is what you mean by sublimity. Sublimity is the echo of greatness of spirit. Sublime is that which cannot be measured or imitated. It is something witty, artistic, aesthetic, inspirational, spiritual, and metaphysical. One of Longinus' assertions is that in order to produce works of sublime nature, the writer must possess and exhibit what he refers to as moral excellence. How can a literary work be a sublime work? According to Longinus, there are 5 main sources of sublimity. A great work of literature should necessarily possess a certain loftiness and excellence of language. Let us see which are the 5 sources of sublimity. Grandeur or greatness of thought. A silly theme will never make up a sublime work. It should have a noble idea behind it. Then, proper treatment of strong emotions. Cheap sentimentality should be avoided. Instead, you should have the emotions at the right intensity directed towards the right person at the right time. Then you have proper use of figures of speech. One should not use figures of speech for jingling effect or just for jingoisms. Instead, it should be properly employed. Then, nobility of diction. Diction refers to the set of words that you use, the vocabulary. That should also be selected with propriety or decorum. Then, on the whole, the work should have dignity of composition. So, these are the 5 sources of sublimity. There are certain impediments to sublimity, certain factors which are obstacles to sublimity. High flown ornamentation. Flowery language is not suitable to really sublime work. Puerility or lack of maturity. It would hamper the sublimity of a literary work. Then, unnecessary display of learning, like cloudiness of expression and over elaboration. It may be uninteresting. Parenthesis or false sentiment, hollow emotions, uncontrolled emotions. So these are the different obstacles to sublimity. So a writer has to be very cautious about these things, otherwise it's going to affect the quality of his work. So unnecessary repetition of words or affectation, exaggeration, cold pedantry, excessive adherence to rules, cheap sentimentality, all these should be avoided. So what is given on the slide, it is the list of impediments to sublimity. So here you can see the writers who are famous for their sublime literary works: Homer, Aristophanes, Demosthenes, Sappho, and Plato. Critics of various ages were influenced by Longinus and his treatise. Thinkers like Edmund Burke and Immanuel Kant were highly influenced by the concept of sublime proposed by Longinus. It shows an aversion to conventional rhetoric-oriented literary modes of criticism and becomes one of the key elements in heightening the romantic mood as opposed to the neoclassical. Many thinkers, including Scott James and Sainsbury, appreciate Longinus's romantic vein and call him a romantic critic. His aesthetic and subjective perspectives on literature and his stress on emotion and individuality drove him close to the Romantics rather than the classicists. The treatise of Longinus is a treatise upon oratory, a treatise upon eloquence in general, discussion of the supreme excellence of language attainable or to be aimed at either in prose or numerous verse. On the Sublime is indeed one of the most influential pieces of criticism on language and literature. Longinus is the first one who spoke about the impact of poetry on the reader, that is, the forerunner of reception aesthetics and reader response theories. He can be undoubtedly called the pioneer of practical criticism. He said that freedom and restraint will go hand in hand. Literature is a vision, and the effect of literature is similar to that of soul-stirring music. Its function is sacramental. According to Longinus, the truly sublime work will have an uplifting effect. We are lifted out of ourselves and carried to a new realm of perception and experience, and we are filled with ecstasy or extreme happiness. Our reaction to the truly sublime work is directed by our intuition and insight. So whenever you read a sublime work, you will have the same effect on you at all times, wherever you are. So it's a universal fact. I hope the idea of sublimity is clear to you. What it means to be a sublime work, which are the sources of sublimity, which are the obstacles to sublimity, and the opinions of other critics about Longinus and his concepts, and so on. I think that's enough for the day. Thank you.